Hey, what's up everybody? I'd like to welcome you to another Juice tutorial. And today what we're going to talk about is starting to build the basic framework that we need to start building a synthesizer. Okay, now there are a couple things that we need to put in place in order to get everything started with building a synthesizer. And it's going to take a couple tutorials to really go through all the different things and all the different considerations that we can make as we're building this structure, because as you know, there are a lot of creative decisions that we can make about how we can build these bigger structures. You know, how many voices do we want it to have? How do we want it to render the waves? Do we want it to be using wavetable synthesis, or do we want those waves to be calculating in real time, or do we want them to be samples that we're repeating at the zero crossing points? So there are a lot of different decisions that we need to make as far as how we can start building this synthesizer up. But what we need to do first is we need to put a basic framework in place where we can start inserting these different decisions, and that's what we're going to do today. So what we have in front of us at the moment is the synthesizer class reference. Pardon me. And we're just going to go through the basic functions that we need to instantiate and that we need to start thinking about in order to get our synthesizer started. Okay, so we're not actually building a synthesizer today. We're just building the framework that we need to have in place in order to start making these decisions. And then in the subsequent tutorials, we'll start talking about some of those decisions and some different things that we can do in order to start building this thing up. I should mention that a couple different things that I've kind of referenced along the way. It's been quite a challenging. It's been quite challenging just to kind of get an idea of the best way to go about this tutorial and thinking about the approach that we can take. And I think that's the reason why we haven't seen any real synthesizer tutorials in Juice, on YouTube. But I think the best way to handle this is to really start from a very basic level, and then as we're able to understand the basic level, dig a little bit deeper, get a little bit better understanding, and hopefully we can start building things up and get a more elaborate structure once we get going. Okay, so the things that I referenced mainly, one is the Juice demo plugin. So if you go into, let's see, if I go into my applications, Juice examples, and then you have an audio plugin demo. So there's an audio plugin demo there, and that's a basic synthesizer. Okay, and so I kind of scoured through that code, got a couple things, and then also another one is from a guy named Leon Fedin. Okay, I think he has a couple videos that he's posted online with about his synthesizers, and he actually has some synthesizers that you can download from GitHub. And looking through his code, and I actually spoke to him today. Really nice guy. He actually teaches at Goldsmiths, and he's his code has been really helpful in helping me understand this as well. So I'll link you to both of those things in the description below. So without further delay, let's just go ahead and get started. So what we'll do is we'll just build a new project, and it will be an audio plugin. We'll just call it Synth Framework. And we'll create. Okay. So a couple things that we need to take a look at. I think we need to take a look at them. First thing is, if we go into the exporter section and we go into debug, what we want to do is this where I want to be? No. Where is it that I want to go here? Yes. So if you just click on the cog at the top for the basic settings here, and you scroll down a little bit, okay, we can click on plugin is a synth, plugin wants MIDI input, and plugin produces MIDI output. Okay, and that should help us get things set up properly. So we'll just go ahead and save that and open it in the IDE. So while it's opening in Xcode, there was something that that I discovered on the Juice forums the other day. That was I think I discovered it on the forums, or it was something that I just read in one of the tutorials by chance. And that was a way to get the to get your plugins debugging quicker using the plugin host. And I'll just show you how to do that real quickly while I just happen to be here and everything's just processing. So if you go to product, and this is if you're building a VST or an AU plugin, and if you go to product, then you go to scheme, then you go to edit scheme, then we have things on debug. Then if you go to executable, then you go to other, it'll just pull up a window. And then what you can do is you go to applications, Juice, and then examples, plugin host, builds. I'm in Mac OS X, build, debug, plugin host. Okay. And then what'll happen there? We won't get a chance to do it today, but when you build your plugin, the host will automatically come up, and then you can actually just drag your plugin in there, and it's a lot quicker, and you can actually do step through debugging to help debug your plugin. So, but we'll do that, sometime down the line. Okay, great. So what we need to do now. Okay, so we'll just have a look on the API here at the class reference, because it gives us a nice description of the things that we need to do in order to get things started. So if we click on more here, okay, it says a base class for a musical device that can play sounds. Okay, to create a synthesizer, we have to create a subclass of synthesizer sound to describe each sound available to the synth, and a subclass of synthesizer voice, which can play back one of these sounds. Okay, and then it goes on to these other things, which we'll get to. Okay, so first thing that we need to do is we need to create two subclasses. Okay, we got synthesizer sound and we got synthesizer voice. Okay, so the way we'll do this, I've done a little bit of practicing earlier, so it'll be good to get this out of the way while it's fresh in my head before I forget. So we'll go back to the producer, go to the file explorer, then we can just hit the plus sign here, and we'll just add a new header file. Okay. If it was a little bit more elaborate, we could split it between a header file and a CPP, but just for simplicity's sake, we'll just put it all. We'll just do two header files. Okay. First one I'll call synth sound. Okay, and then I'll add another one. Okay, and I'll just call this synth voice. And this is great for me too. I'm just learning how to do this, so it's just one of those things that sometimes you look and you say, well, how would I ever know that if I was just going through the API, and sometimes it's just practice, just practice, repetition, and just really getting your hands dirty. So cool. So now we got our header files. We can just relaunch here. Okay, and so now we need to put some stuff in synth sound and synth voice. As you can see, they're just completely blank. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to just include our juice header in there, so it knows what we're talking about when we're creating this stuff. Okay, so then we're going to create a class. Okay, and it's going to be class synth sound. I'll just call it synth sound, same thing. And then I think it's called synthesizer sound. Okay, so we have this class called synthesizer sound. Just going to open it in another window. Okay, describes one of the sounds that the synthesizer can play. Okay, so then what we have here is we have two pure virtual functions that we need to instantiate here. Okay, they're just two booleans. Okay, and we'll just type the, so we'll just get class synth sound inherits from we'll give it public access, synthesizer. And for all you Americans out there like me, synthesizer is with an S rather than a Z or a Z. And then we can just do that. And then we'll just give both of these public access. And then we just need to instantiate these two pure virtual functions. Okay, so whenever you see that equals 0, that lets you know that when I'm calling or inheriting from this class, that I need to call these functions and I need to instantiate those. So we've got bool applies to note, and then int. And then I'll just put here /star MIDI note number. Okay, and then I'll just put return true. Okay, then we'll just do the same thing for applies to channel. Okay, so just to explain to you what I'm doing, so it says returns true if this sound should be played when a given MIDI note is pressed. Okay, so we want there to be a note there when a MIDI note is pressed. So of course we want that to be true. Okay, same thing with channel. Okay, so applies to channel, int MIDI channel. Okay, we're just going to do return true again. Okay, and then that's it. That's it for that. That's it for synthesizer sound. Okay, so that's good to go. So now we're going to go to synth voice. Okay, we're going to paste our header there again, so once again it knows what we're talking about. I'm just going to do a quick build, just make sure that everything's building properly, and I think everything's going to be cool. Okay, looks like it's going to be fine. So what we're going to do here is we're going to include the synth sound header file. Synth sound.h. Okay, and once again, all we're doing here is we're just creating that framework. We're just creating that kind of skeleton where we can start building, where we can start like putting in our stuff and our DSP code, and start kind of specifying what kind of synth that we want this to be, how we want it to render the sound, what kind of synthesizer we want it to be, so on and so forth. So this is just building that skeleton at the moment. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go back to synthesizer. Now we're going to go to the synthesizer voice class here. And you'll see that there are a bunch of pure virtual functions that we need to declare here. Okay. So first one is so we're just gonna call this. I need to do my class declaration here. Class synth voice. That's gonna be public access, and then this is going to be synthesizer voice. Okay, and here we are. We'll give this public access. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're just going to fill out these. these functions, and then for the next tutorial we'll start making decisions as far as how we're going to what we're going to do inside these methods. Okay, so first one is Boolean can play sound. Then this is just a synthesizer sound pointer sound. Oh, my bad. Typing at a weird angle. Okay. Then I like to do this just to separate the functions out, because I just like to see everything kind of clearly. Okay. And this is helpful for me because, then I know, okay, I know now what I need to do just to just to start getting everything situated with the synthesizer. Okay, so we know that we need a we have this one that we need. Okay, start note. Okay, what happens when we press a key? Okay, so void start note int MIDI note number float velocity synthesizer sound pointer sound int current pitch wheel position. Okay, great, that one's done. Okay, and then we need stop note. So what happens when we let the key go? Okay, void stop note. Got float velocity. Boolean allow tail off if we want to tail off after the note's let go. Okay. Then we got, what else do we have here? So we have pitch wheel moved. Okay, int new pitch wheel. So we can put some pitch wheel functions in there if we want to. Okay, then we got controller moved. So all of these have to be declared, okay? Or else you'll get an error. Void controller moved int controller number int new controller value. I know this might be a little bit tedious, but if somebody had shown this to me, I think I would have found it quite helpful. We need, most importantly, RenderNext Block. Okay, so void RenderNext Block. This is actually like your kind of like your process block here. So this is where the majority of your DSP code will go for the synthesizer. Well, some of it. Float reference to output buffer int start sample int num samples. Okay, and then I'll just put a private in here as well, just in case we want to declare some private variables. Okay, so this is just kind of your basic framework here for actually declaring, for actually creating a synth. So if you want to create a synth in Juice, you have to do all of this basically. So if we go back to our plugin, header file. So now we want to include these now so that we can use them. So we can use synth include synth sound.h and include synth voice.h. Then down here in private, I could just create a synthesizer object. Synthesizer my synth. Okay, and that's where I'm going to stop now. Because I really, like I said, I just really wanted this to be just kind of, okay, I want to create a synthesizer in Juice. What do I need to do to get everything started? This is what you need to create to get everything started. So, so next couple tutorials, we're going to start making decisions as far as how we're going to create our synthesis engine for our synthesizer. I'm leaning towards using the Maximilian library, which is a sound library, really good sound library that I'd recommend, that makes a lot of things easier, and I'm leaning towards using that to build our first synthesizer. If you have any suggestions, or if you have any comments, or if you if you have any feedback or anything, just leave a comment below. Otherwise, it'd be great if you liked the video, just so we can get more people, get the community bigger and everything. And that's where I'm going to finish things off. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found it helpful. And I will see you next time.